You are so kind, Alex. Thank you so much. It's interesting, actually, because when asked before any of this ever happened, even before I got my first proper radio gig, what would you like to do? I actually did say, I would love to be in a box on Celebrity Squares. This was like, this is when it first came out, and or hosting a game show. So I've always embraced that genre, and I think that I am all about winner fridge TV. I think that's what I'm all... So yeah, it's very kind of you to say that, and I think it's because I love my job, Alex. I love it.
Why you?
Why me doing it? I think you have to risk things in this business. And I remember many, many years ago when I was doing local radio, and we used to have celebrities on every other day. And Larry Grayson, at the height of his Generation Game popularity, was a guest on my show regularly. He often used to come and do the show, and he used to like it because we used to chat like we're chatting now a lot. And I gave him a lift back to Coventry. I was on my way back to London, and he said, we're in Nottingham. Do you want to run me back to Coventry on my way home to London? On your way home to London? I said, fine. And we chatted away, and he said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I love my job, but I'd love to be maybe on telly doing a game show or a talk show or something like that. And he said, do you know what the secret is? And I went, tell me. He said, perseverance. It means that you never give up. And he didn't get his break till he was, I think, about 50, late 40s, to his first big break. And it's the ones that fall by the wayside that reach 30 and don't get it. Some are very lucky they get it when they're 25 or when they're 19. I wasn't one of those people, and I was the wrong side of 30 then. And he said, just keep going. You've got to keep doing it. And at some point, I gave up my radio and risked everything and completely left the business. And all I was doing within the business was sending tapes out and auditioning because I just still wanted it that badly. So I think that is the secret. Never give up.
What's the most important quality of a good game show host? Is it the fact that you can talk to anybody? Is it the fact that you listen, you're interested, or you love the game itself that you're presenting?
I think that the most important thing about a good game show host is to embrace the concept that the person you're standing next to, who you're either asking the questions to, or the person who's trying to win the money, you are with them and you want them to win, so you are on their side. I think there have been occasions when some game show hosts who have come through the business in a different way, perhaps see it as a vehicle for comedic talents or as a vehicle for furthering their name, and they don't embrace the concept. So it's a tool rather than a passion for the job. And I think that you've got to, when you watch a game show, you've got to feel that the audience is willing you to do well with them. I think that's what it's... You've got to want them to win.
Is it also not taking yourself too seriously? Because you seem very open to people joking with you and you joking with them.
One of the reasons is, it's an old showbiz thing, and it's so true. It isn't the jobs you do, it's the jobs you don't do. It's the ones you turn down. And then it's the ones that you do for a different reason. And people often see me as a certain kind of image, and if they actually looked at the kind of shows I've done, like Supermarket Sweep, Pets Win Prizes, shows like that were the kind of shows which were so bizarre. I've always gone for the wacky, off-the-wall shows. And let's not forget, Supermarket Sweep was offered to everybody in the business before they got round to saying... Someone said, what about Dale Winton? And the producer said, who is Dale Winton? And that was true. And that was, a lot of people were afraid of it because it was considered as so consumer orientated, so American, and they were afraid to touch it. And I just said, give it to me. That I know that I can run with this.
You always do family stuff as well. I never hear you swearing on TV. We never see you doing anything vulgar. I mean, is there a side of you that wants to be Jim Davidson live or anything?
No, I'm really funny. I'm ever so old-fashioned. I'm not puritanical. I'm not at all. I'm just not one of those people that... If I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, I've got to sort of have an image, I've got to change my image. I've got people like you for the way you are, and I think that it wouldn't be me to cuss and swear and be that kind of. And I always think that if you have to do that, that means you're probably not that funny in the first place. You don't need to do that. Although, funnily enough, on the odd occasions when, on the moments that the viewers never see, which do come out in like the bloopers shows, when I do, I often utter the odd swear word with a twinkle in my eye, and it is incredible. What makes me laugh, and it gets me every time, is it's very effective. It's like an Exocet missile, because I never swear, and suddenly I say a word in a way for fun, and the audience love it, because this is not what they are so knocked out by me doing something so undale. And that's why I get a wry smile inwardly when I shock people like that. It doesn't come easy to me, swearing. I don't like it.
And that really leads me to my next question about your autobiography, which I read a couple of years ago. My first question has to be, though, why did you want to write an autobiography if you are so private?
Well, that was the book that nearly never got made. Nearly got written. I've had many meetings, attempts at getting a book away. Publishers have been coming to me for like 10 years to do the book, and every time I go to them, and it's very interesting for the listener that it isn't a case of just a celebrity writes a book and I want to get it out there. You have to sit through a panel of people who then say, okay, well, if we are to publish this book, what's your book all about? And of course they fire questions over you. It's like going for a board meeting. And on 3 separate occasions over the years, I tried this, and every time I did, I ended up in floods of tears. I got very emotional because I thought, I'm not ready to do this yet. And then finally I said I would do it because it was my childhood, which I wasn't ready to reveal. I'm fanatically private as a person. You never read things about me in the papers. Touch wood, not that there's anything to read, but you rarely see things about me that you hitherto didn't know. So my childhood was something which was unusual, but I think everybody has a story to tell, Alex. And I was like born in a trunk, come from a showbiz family. So I guess it was no surprise I would end up the way I did.
Were you a happy child, though?
Yes, I was. I think that I love children. I mean, I have godchildren who are my life. I absolutely adore them. And I think that for a child to be loved and to be shown love, whilst there were certain elements of my life, as you've read the book, you know, which were very tragic, I at no time ever felt not loved. And I think that was so important. So because I felt loved, I think I was a happy child. I also think I was probably spoilt. And I think I was indulged. And I think that had I not had strong parental guide from my mother, because my mother virtually brought me up single-handedly, I probably would be a pretty revolting individual now, because I was very, very... I was indulged. And I think that comes out of my mother came from a very poor working class family and very much made it on her own. And as is always the case with parents who perhaps have difficulties in their former life themselves, then they have children. And if they love that child, they don't want their child to suffer or have such bad experiences. So they try and pave the way for an easy life for them. And the reality is you can make it too easy. And with my mother's suicide, I was brought up quick, smart, stop, oh dear. And I suddenly realised I had to start all over again. So in answer to your original question, yes, I was loved. And that's why I was happy.
Do you still ask yourself that question, why?
The question you ask yourself, funnily enough, is not the one that comes from within. It's when other people pose questions about it to you. And it came to light, particularly when I was doing the book, where people were saying, did you not feel absolutely, utterly, totally rejected? It's the ultimate rejection when a parent commits suicide. And I thought about that and I thought, no, I didn't see it like that. Is there a day goes by that I don't think about the situation and maybe I could have done something about it? Yes, of course. And I miss her terribly because she was such a strong influence on me. And I think the bond that a mother has with her son is like no other. You only get one mother. You only get one mum. You only get that one bond once in your life. So that is a very unusual bond. And someone else said to me, are you angry with her for doing it? No, I never felt angry. And I never felt betrayed by her. Because ultimately it was her choice. And let's not forget, when someone takes their own life, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, a suicide attempt is a cry for help. So they don't really mean to do it. My mother tried it many times. She was forever being rushed to the hospital, stomach pump, depression's a terrible thing. And the doctor said, she means to do it. One day we're not going to be able to save her. We are, despite our best efforts. So I kind of was, oh no, not again. And this time it happened. Interestingly enough, medicine has changed so much. The medicine she was prescribed at the time was so inappropriate, so wrong, that in hindsight, of course, if we knew now what we knew then, if we knew then what we know now, things would have been very different because they treat depression in a very different way. So there is a sadness to that, of course, but some people are hell-bent on self-destruction.
I think your book would be inspirational to anybody who's going through that. It's worth reading because the way you describe how you dealt with it, I think is remarkable. For someone so young to be able to cope with it the way you did.
Kind of went off the rails a little bit. I kind of went a bit crazy, but pulled my act together quite quickly. But the knock-on effect for something like that, Alex, is incredible in terms of how you conduct your life later.
Okay, let's talk about what happened next after your mother's suicide, because this bit of your life is so fascinating to anybody who I would think would want to be a star, particularly the debt thing. I loved reading in your book how you mounted all this debt, and within the first week of doing your TV show, you'd paid it all off. Now, that is the showbiz gamble, isn't it, really? That's the American dream.
I gave up my radio career to try and crack television because I was getting nowhere fast. And to be honest with you, if I'm absolutely brutally frank, I was sitting in Wolverhampton doing a radio show every day, and I just sat there, and I'll never forget it. I was playing a record. It was an Elkie Brooks record. Nothing against Elkie Brooks, but she was playing. I was playing a record, and I was watching this in the days when we used to have vinyl, and it was like the 80s, and I was watching this record go around the desk, and I was thinking, do you know what? I never want to play another record as long as I live. That's how I felt. I just done it because I'm not one for days off. I'm a workaholic. So I'd been solidly working for year after year doing daytime radio, and I just thought, I don't want to do this anymore. And I came out the station, went straight to the producer of the radio station. I said, I want to leave. He said, you've only been a few months. You want to go? I said, I can't do this anymore. What I needed was a holiday.
Right.
And I decided, I left the radio station that day. He said, look, give me a chance to replace you. I think I was 6 weeks. They found a replacement. On the day I left, I went back to my house. I packed up what I couldn't put into storage, drove to London, came off the motorway, rented a flat, and said, right, now start again. And for 8 years, I did not work in the media. I sold timeshare. I worked in a bakery. I did everything just to keep body and soul together. With the money I had from the house sale, I thought would get me through a long time. Little did I realise that living in London, I think I had £18,000 was supposed to last me for 5 years. I mean, do the mathematics. And so it was hard going. So I risked it, and I think you have to risk. You don't get anywhere in this world unless you have the chutzpah, as the people say in the Jewish faith, that you've got to say, right, do you know what? I'm going to risk this. I'm going to go for it. I've got confidence in myself. If I don't believe in myself, how else can anybody else believe me? And I spent a long time knocking on doors saying, give me a job. Give me a job.
But you know what worries me about that? When you watch X Factor and you see the kids that can't sing a note and still have that undoubting belief that you've just described, and they believe they're so talented and they'll sell everything and they'll move to London. How did you know that you were good enough to keep taking all these risks?
I think it's to do with flying time. You hit on such a good point with programs like X Factor, where pop stardom becomes so disposable. Presenting becomes... There are people who appear on television, they become flavour of the month for a year, then they go, and then when they want to... What happened? What happened? Oh, I can tell you what happened. What happened is you don't have that bank of flying time. Whether you're a comic that's come up in the clubs, where you've had your flying time, you've done your groundwork. It's the same with presenters on television. It's the same with singers. If you've toured the clubs in the back of a van, going from one gig to the other, you have paid your dues. And you know what? That flying time, and that's what gives you the confidence. You go, there is a world of difference between saying, I can do that, I can be a star because I know I've got what it takes, to saying, I can be a star, I can do that because I've already done it, I just haven't done it to a big audience. And that is the difference, because you've got the experience, you've proved that you can do it. It's the platform in which you do it from.
And finding somebody who has the belief to give you the format to do it.
That was the most important lesson I ever learned when I got Supermarket Sweep. When, as I said, they tried everybody. They didn't want me. They didn't know me. I bullied the guy into giving me a break by saying to him, the lesson I learned was confidence. And I said, give me this job. I will not let you down. I know I can do this job. And there's that click that goes in the brain that says, well, if he's that sure about it, if he thinks he can do it, he's taken the pressure off me because he's that confident about it, it's worth a crack.
It didn't all go well, though, did it? Not everybody liked you within the networks. They got a bit nervous when you did Supermarket Sweep.
Yeah, my career, actually, Alex, has been like this from day one. It's that there are some people see me on the television doing lots of shows. They see me doing this, that, and the other. Over the years, I've done endless series. The behind the scenes, I am not like a lot of people. And my agent had this conversation with me the other week, and it's true. Some people get a handcuff deal worth gazillions because they've had one hit show and they are flavour of the month. I have never had anything like that. I have had to fight for every gig I have got. And you're one of those artists. You will be first choice. There'll always be maybe a question about it. There'll always be a why and wherefore. I'm not one of those artists that people come to. And there are a few of us like that who are reliable, safe, good, secure artists. But we have to work for our gigs. And I don't mind that. That's my lot in life.
It doesn't bother you?
No, doesn't bother me. When jobs come my way and TV shows come my way, and some are natural progressions from one to the other. But then I see someone get a fabulous deal on a contract, and the industry talks to each other. We all talk to each other and go, well, why did that happen? Well, we'll see what happens. Then sure enough, I'm not going to name names, but over the last 10 years, the number of people that have come and gone and come and gone, it's all about ability. And, you can have too much confidence. You can be too self-confident and never take it for granted. Never. I get up every morning. Listen, Alex, to have a year's hit, a year's success in this business is fabulous. To have 2 years is unbelievable. If you have 3 years, you're in heaven. When I walk down the street and people meet me, and they talk to me. I've had this in my entire professional career since I've been on television. They go, "Hi Dale, how are you?" I get this from lorry drivers leaning out of cab vans. I get it from ladies crossing the street. I get it from teenagers leaving school. I was stopped by a bunch of schoolgirls the other day for an autograph. I was walking across the street. It was lovely, and they all say the same thing. "Oh, you're not what we were expecting. You're really nice." And I'm too terrified to say to them, "What were you expecting?" So I think that it has a lot to do with the fact that part of my personality is, and it goes against me sometimes. Occasionally critics have a go at me, TV critics, because I'm eager to please. And this is my anxiousness not to offend is phenomenal. My worst nightmare is if I cause someone an unpleasant moment, if I upset someone. So, and I'm one of those people who go home at night and I think about, oh, what did I say to so-and-so? God, did I offend them? I hope I didn't say the wrong thing. So I think that comes across on television, that sometimes I might appear on TV too eager to please. And that is an unattractive quality, but it's quite genuine. Please like me. And I think that's part of working the camera, is like, you want to be liked. And I carry that through. I don't want to offend anybody.
Do you think this, again, goes back to the childhood? We're going to talk about weight in a bit and Celebrity Fit Club, but, is this from the childhood thing? I was a fat kid and always wanted to be the popular one. Do you think that's why you continue that now? You just want everybody to love you?
Probably. I was also a fat child, to the point where my mother was dragging me off to dietitians and health farms from the age of about 12. I got round that by being friendly and making people laugh. So you're absolutely right. I did use that as a tool, and that developed me as a person. I was never the attractive, fun to be with guy. I was always the chubby child. Weight has played is my constant battle. To this day, you could sit here and say to me, "Dale, I think you're rubbish on television. I think you're rubbish as a presenter. And if I look at you too closely, you've got the eyes of a serial killer." I'll forgive you. Heaven forbid you say to me, "You've put on half a stone." I then want to take you out. I want to kill you, because that is my sensitive subject.
How far would you go to be thin?
Probably to a great deal of length. I've been a yo-yo dieter all my life. People hate me for saying this. I discovered Atkins, and it worked for me. So I'm always up or down half a stone, but I was up or down 4 stone. So I'm quite happy, and I just have to cut out carbohydrate. But I would never go gastric. I would never do the bypass. I've considered liposuction, because no matter how slim I get, there are certain areas of my life, because we all have different shapes. But I've got used to the fact I live with it. As regards cosmetic surgery, yes, I went the whole way, because I think that at that point I saw myself on TV. It's maintenance. It's part of the job. There are people coming up all the time who are younger, better looking, zippier, and I just think that the public as well expect you to look presentable and look good. They probably would say, "We don't mind if you don't have the surgery," but for me, to give me a bit of confidence, to me it's part of the job. If I wasn't in this business, I wouldn't bother with cosmetic surgery. I've had a facelift. I had my eyes done, a facelift, and my chin done. I'm done now for another 5 or 6 years, then I might have a little bit of maintenance. But it's a business decision. It is not a vanity decision. It's a case of, I look like I'm letting myself go on TV. Time to do something about it.
You see, I wouldn't cast judgment over that, because if I had the money, I'd have it done as well. But the gastric bypass thing, which is the thing that they're all doing in America, which basically puts a band around your stomach to stop you eating to make you thin, it's interesting to me that you wouldn't take that, yet you'd have your face done.
I think there are other ways. I think that the weight thing is interesting, and exercise. The bottom line on weight is eat less, move more. And I've learnt that lesson, so I don't have to go that route with the gastric bypass. That, to me, if I gain suddenly 50 pounds over the course of a summer and I had to do a quick fix, then I might consider it, but it's not something that would be high on my priority. I go to a health farm, or I go on Atkins. I find Atkins works for me. I hate to say it, but it does. If the one thing I should stop is my cigarettes, I can't. I'm a smoker, and I love it. I love it. It's becoming increasingly difficult, no matter where you go in the world, to smoke. It is becoming the most antisocial. And when you meet someone that does smoke, you feel like you've met a friend for life.
Right.
It's like a soulmate. You know, I see a packet, and I'm always looking at the table next to me in the restaurant if they've got a packet of cigarettes on their table. And I've now got into the habit of calling a restaurant ahead of time, saying, "Am I allowed to smoke in your restaurant?" And that affects my life now, which is bad. But I don't plan on giving up anytime soon. But I know I should.
Why?
It's bad for you.
But why can't you give up if you know it's bad for you?
I don't drink. I've never had a controlled drug in my life, you know, like one of those things that people take. I'm very disciplined because I'm a control freak, and I'm very, very in charge of my own destiny. And I know that I love cigarettes, and I absolutely enjoy that first cigarette in the morning. It's a terrible thing to say, and I'm a terrible role model for people if they're thinking of giving up. I put my hands up to that one. That's the only thing I do. It's my only bad vice.
So you really don't want to stop then?
I've tried the patches, I've tried the gum, I've tried everything. I know I should want to stop, but no, I don't, because I think that's like weight and willpower. If you want to do it, you will. You really will. But I clearly don't want to give up cigarettes, otherwise I would have done.
Very finally about the weight. Do you think you're fat now?
Yes, I think I'm about half a stone heavier than I should be at the moment. I'm not happy with I'm a bit heavy at the moment.
But that's ridiculous, because you're clearly not. It's interesting, the psychology of that, isn't it, that you think you're fat?
Television puts on half a stone, minimum, £10. And I'm in the middle of doing Fit Club at the moment, and one of my suits last week was a bit tight. So I know, I get on the scales, I weigh, I know I'm actually about £7 heavier than what is comfortable for me. So perhaps I'm not fat, but I'm the wrong side of what I'd like to be right at this moment, but I'm sorting it out. Come back in 10 days' time, I'll have it sorted.
Dale, an honest question. Why did Dale Winton get married?
We did it too well. To the point where my neighbour invited me round to dinner with my new wife, and I got presents. And the idea was, I have a knee-jerk reaction to certain reality programmes on TV. Things like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, to me is not reality, it's an entertainment show, and I love it. And Decca brilliant, the stars are brilliant, it's great. I have a reaction to this era of celebrity where people believe everything they read in the papers. The reality shows like your Big Brothers, which I've just found this year gripping though it was, totally ugly to watch and dark. And I find that we are celebrating celebrity in the most bizarre way. You pick up, there's a whole range of magazines now, you know, models and people that are famous for 3 minutes. And it got to the point where I was looking through these magazines, I was thinking, who are these people? I mean, it was celebrity wedding after celebrity wedding after celebrity when people I'd never even heard of. And I like to think of myself as being quite well-rounded. It was someone's famous husband's cousin's makeup artist getting married, and it was in the paper. I thought, this is ridiculous. So BBC came to the idea of a show, and the concept being, should you and do you believe everything you read in the papers, see on the television, hear on the radio, and hear about in the pub? And the answer to that is you should not believe any of it. So we pushed the envelope and went for it. And I said, OK, let's do a programme that really tests that. Really tests that. So we've got a magazine behind us. The BBC, it was all cloak and dagger. People in the know were tipped off what we were doing. And the whole country and the whole of the media went along with it. Problem, we did it too well. And what was interesting was that because of the persona I have with the general public, and instantly I picked the bride, there were various I mean, she was cast like a regular job, and there was a list of 10 people. Right. And it was like, she was the only one I was happy with. I said, it's got to be Nell or no. That's the only one that's believable. What was interesting was, everybody I spoke to, the people in the industry, people not in our business, the general public wanted me to be married, wanted me to be happy. And I think a whole range of people breathed a big sigh of relief. Oh, we're happy. It's so nice for him. He's found a nice girl. We always knew he'd settle down, really. And it kind of like we did it too well. And it didn't harm me, but I think it probably put Nell McAndrew back about 10 years in her career. I think she once said, she said, you know, they asked what would be on her gravestone, and she said it will say, I went into the jungle as a celebrity without any makeup on, and I married Dale Winton, and that's what I'll be famous for. And there is that to it. So I did it to try and show you, you know, it was a very quirky, different show to make you think, is this true? isn't it true? And question what you read in the papers. We did it too well. People either believed it or thought I was doing it for a publicity stunt. I don't need publicity. I've got 2 hit shows on TV. I don't, it wasn't that at all. I did it it's like Supermarket Sweep and Pets Win Prizes. I like to do a quirky job every now and then.
Was it a big joke that everybody went, oh, look, we're smarter than the public?
It was one of the happiest days of my life. I loved it. I enjoyed it. And what was really weird was I was seeing someone at the time, a very serious relationship, and we'd had a bit of a fallout a couple of months before, and my agent said to me on the day, she said, "When are you going to be all right going home?" Because I drove to the wedding, drove home, but to me it was a TV gig. I just did it as a TV gig. She said, "You're going to be all right, you're going to be a bit emotional." I remember driving home from the wedding after the reception, and I pulled over in the lay-by and on the mobile phone, rang said guy and said, "I've just done this show. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be, but I want you to know that when you see it and the publicity comes out, people are going to think it's true. It was you I was thinking of, not Nell, because we've just done it too well. And also, I'm very fragile, I'm very vulnerable. I felt very emotional." I suddenly thought, that's what it's really like. But it was fabulous. I loved it. And to this day, I'd have to say, hand on my heart, when I look at it, it is my favourite piece of work I've ever done. I love it. I love that show.
And what about Dale settling down one day and really getting married? Is that possible?
I don't think that's on the cards, Alex. Do you? I don't think...
Well, now you can. I mean, Elton's done it.
I would do that. I think from a legal point of view, it's probably a very good idea. I think that makes sense, that why shouldn't all couples enjoy the same rights? I certainly wouldn't go in for the hoopla of the whole bit again. No, I don't think I'd go that route.
Listen, you're so private and you never talk to anybody, and we're really thrilled that you gave us this time because you're a busy man and you're here, there and everywhere and on the TV, and everybody seems to love you. And I've been asking for this interview for about 25 years or something.
Oh, I'm so glad we finally did this.
And they always say no because Dale's too busy, but you've finally given us the time, and I think people would really have appreciated hearing your story and your life.
Have been a joy.
Thank you.
Have been an absolute joy. The fact I've been talking about my favourite subject is besides the point, he said with his tongue firmly in his cheek. You've been very generous and it's been lovely. Why haven't we done this sooner? We'll have to do it again.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you.